All right, so in terms of your grand promotion of democracy, human rights, which are going to be at the center of U.S. foreign policy, as we'll see, no doubt, in December when the president hosts his summit for democracy, how does that relate exactly to Afghanistan and your promotion of human rights and democracy when you have a situation where the country is rapidly coming under control of a group that has shown no respect for democracy and human rights ever?
I'm sorry, the question was?
How do you reconcile this? How does the administration expect to be taken seriously in terms of promoting human rights and democracy as being at the center of U.S. foreign policy if it is prepared to allow Afghanistan to deteriorate into a situation where a group that has shown that you yourself just days ago have accused of committing atrocities, if you're prepared to allow that to happen?
I would reject every single premise of that question.
Really?
The United States.
Most of what I just said is actual.
The United States, I think it is undeniable, has over the course of 20 years done more to support the cause of the Afghan people, to provide humanitarian support, just numerically speaking. Of course, we are the largest donor, and that includes humanitarian assistance. It includes assistance for the women and girls of Afghanistan, for Afghanistan's minorities. That won't change. I would also reject the premise that we are just prepared to watch and do nothing as the violence escalates. That could not be farther from the truth. The truth, Matt, is that on every count, on every score, the United States, over the course of the past 20 years, and now, going forward, is, I would dare say, doing more than any country to try to bring stability, security, and ultimately prosperity to the people of Afghanistan. Now, it is true that our tactics are changing, that the president has made the decision to withdraw our military forces. That says nothing about our support for the rights of the people of Afghanistan and what we will continue, what we have done and will continue to strive to do to bring stability and security to the people of Afghanistan right now as we speak through a diplomatic process. And I know you tend to discount diplomacy, at least in this case.
I just don't think, I don't see how you can realistically think that it's going to accomplish anything, because it hasn't in the past. And if you say you reject the premise that you're prepared to sit by and watch and do nothing, well, what have you done over the course of the last couple of weeks as these atrocities that you've talked about have mounted, as the Taliban has taken over more and more territory? What exactly has it been that you have done? You said that you weren't going to sit back and do nothing. What have you done?
Happy to reiterate much of what we've done. Of course, we've spoken of our humanitarian assistance, which is directly relevant to the current and future conditions of the Afghan people, including its women and girls, and Afghanistan's minorities as well. Just right now, just this week. And again, this is diplomacy, what we think has the potential to lead to a political settlement and a ceasefire. It is ongoing actively right now. There are several rounds of planned meetings this week. First took place yesterday. There was another one today. There will be another one tomorrow, bringing together representatives from countries in the region and well beyond, as well as from multilateral institutions.
These are all in Doha.
In Doha, to press for a reduction of violence and a ceasefire and a commitment on the part of all those in attendance. This constellation of representatives from various countries and international organizations, not to work with any entity that takes the country by force. And so just today, Ambassador Khalilzad and his team participated in a meeting of the extended Troika, that is to say the United States, Russia, China, and Pakistan. There, the countries aligned efforts to press the Taliban to reduce violence, to engage seriously and urgently in Afghan peace negotiations, including the fundamental issues needed to resolve that conflict. I said this started yesterday. Yesterday, Ambassador Khalilzad and his team participated in a meeting with on the current situation, including the current levels of violence, with the UN envoy, Jean Arnaud, and representatives from the region and other international stakeholders. Tomorrow, there will be a broader set of countries, we expect, that will come together. And in all of this, it's our intention to forge consensus and to have the international community, including countries in the region and beyond, to speak with one voice. Both sets of these meetings this week included briefings from both the Islamic Republic, that's the Afghan government, and from the Taliban negotiating teams. Abdullah, the chairman, is there representing the Afghan government. Mullah Baradar is there representing the Taliban. This is high-level representation.
The other countries, are you prepared to say, or do you know yet?
We'll have more detail on that tomorrow.
But the Taliban will be represented in those meetings as well?
Yes, there will be a correct.
Is it correct that the Secretary has not spoken to Mullah Baradar or any Taliban member?
That is correct.
So he has his representations about this have been confined to the Afghan government. When in terms of Afghan people, it
has included the Afghan government. Of course, when we visited Kabul, we met with President Ghani, we met with Abdullah. It's multiple conversations with President Ghani.
The last Secretary of State, or the only Secretary of State to have spoken with the Taliban directly, was his predecessor.
In the context of the conclusion of the U.S.-Taliban agreement. But let me make one other point. Of course, the Secretary has also been actively engaged in speaking with countries, representatives countries from the region on this.
You're trying to impute some kind of. I just want to know if it's correct. I'm not saying that it's good or bad, whether he is or not. Do you happen to know?
One more point. Just on this to give you the full context.
I just have one more, and it's extremely brief because I think the answer is going to be no.
Okay. Well, Ambassador Khalilzad, in the context of all of this, will meet with each negotiating team separately, as we frequently do, to encourage them to engage productively in this process, and importantly, not to squander this opportunity, which may be an historic opportunity to end what is not.
Wait, squander this what opportunity? What are you talking about?
The opportunity
that brought about by you guys withdrawing?
The opportunity.
Which has plunged the country at 65% of the country into chaos?
The opportunity of the Afghan government and the Taliban and the rest of the world, at least a large swath of the world, coming together. And let me remind you, it's been less than a year since both the Afghan government and the Taliban have been willing to talk, have been engaged in intra-Afghan dialogue. So we have an opportunity, have had an opportunity in recent weeks and months that in many ways Afghanistan has not had over the course of 40 years. We talk about the past 3 weeks of violence, the past 3 months of violence. This has been 40 years of conflict. Mm-hmm. And so with the Taliban and the Afghan government now willing to talk to one another, of course that is a necessary but insufficient step. But what we are doing is galvanizing the international community, supporting these intra-Afghan discussions to attempt to make progress, to do a couple things, to stop this military offensive, diminish the level of violence, and more broadly to negotiate a political settlement, to form an inclusive Afghan government that ends this conflict. We remain confident in the fact that this is the only path to stability. We remain cognizant of the fact that this is the only path to stability and development in Afghanistan. So progress has been slow. It has been painfully slow. The violence has been a cause for grave concern. We've been very clear about that.
I think a lot of people would argue that there's not been any progress. It's not been slow. It's been non-existent. But anyway, did you get an answer to the question I had yesterday about whether the Taliban was violating the terms of the February 2020 Doha Agreement?
Sure. Let me add a bit of context there. There are several key parts of this February 2020 agreement to highlight. Number one, the Taliban will take specific actions to prevent any group or individual, including Al-Qaeda, from using Afghanistan to threaten the security of the United States and its allies. This, of course, incredibly important to us. We have a commitment from the Taliban. We also have capabilities in the region to see to it that this remains the case. Number two, the United States and coalition partners will withdraw foreign military forces from Afghanistan. This is especially noteworthy in the context of our decision-making process. And it's something that we obviously talked about at length yesterday. Number three, the Taliban and the Islamic Republic will launch intra-Afghan negotiations. It's a point I've just made that the two sides had not come together until this agreement went into force, and they've been meeting now for less than a year. But the very fact that Abdullah and Mullah Baradar are in Qatar is a sign of that. And number four, a permanent and comprehensive ceasefire and agreement over the future political roadmap of Afghanistan will be part of the agenda of the intra-Afghan negotiations. And so this one, that's particularly relevant to your question on this. But the way we look at these four elements is that they are linked. They are interrelated. Intra-Afghan negotiations leading to a permanent and comprehensive ceasefire were an integral element of the agreement. And all recent indications, at least, suggest the Taliban are instead pursuing a battlefield victory.
But they didn't agree in February 2020 not to seek a battlefield victory against the Afghan government.
What they agreed to do?
Did they not?
What they agreed to do was to seek a permanent and comprehensive ceasefire agreement.
Yeah, through these peace talks, which have gone nowhere.
Correct.
Did they agree in February 2020? Did they agree not to attack Afghan major population centers or the Afghan government?
What we can say?
Did they? Or did they not?
Say is that. The levels of violence are unacceptably high, and what we have seen is inconsistent with the letter and the spirit of the agreement.
But they didn't actually agree not to attack cities, provincial capitals, major population centers, or the Afghan or the Afghan military.
Attacking provincial capitals and targeting civilians is inconsistent with the spirit of the agreement. It's this last clause of the agreement, the key point that I mentioned, a permanent and comprehensive ceasefire agreement over the future political roadmap of Afghanistan will be part of the agenda of the